Have you ever thought, that's it, I'm leaving California, I'm over this, I can't take these taxes, I can't take this population, I can't take this freeway congestion? One of the worst kept secrets is you are not alone in that feeling and that sentiment. Approximately 9 million people have relocated out of the state, moved out of here since 2010. On average, that's about 140,000 people every single year. That's about the same population as a few medium to small sized cities annually. But what happens after a lot of folks move might actually surprise you. And with that, let's dive into the top regrets that a lot of folks have after leaving the Golden State. So with that, today we're going to be getting into both sides. Why people are leaving California in the first place, and some of the reasons that they regret leaving once they do. And quick note before we dive in, my name is Justin King. My wife Allison and I run a small real estate team out here in Southern California, specifically the Inland Empire, where we help people like you figure out if relocating to here, from here, away from here, in here, is the best thing for themselves and their families. If there's anything we can do for you, please do not hesitate to reach out, whether it's 2 days from now, 2 weeks from now, 10 years from now, we will still be around. We would love to help you, and we're here to make sure that you make the move the right way. My info is down below. Call, text, email, days, evening, nights, weekends, what have you. I'm a full-time real estate agent. When you guys reach out, it actually means the world to me. I do put these videos out for you folks. So like I said, reach out anytime. We're here to serve and support you on the highest possible level. And if you would like to learn more about living in the Inland Empire or any of the adjacent cities, make sure to hit the subscribe button, as I do post weekly. I've been posting a couple times a week lately, trying to get as much information out there as possible. I'm putting these videos out every Thursday around 6 to 6:30. Monday I'm going live answering your questions. So if you have questions about the process or about the area, hop on. I usually have a pretty cool guest. And lately we've been mixing in on weekends a nice little property tour with a neighborhood drive. If there's a specific community you would like to see in those, or a specific neighborhood, go ahead and drop it below. I'd be more than happy to cover it. And also, last request, if you know anybody that could get some value from this video or any of my others, please feel free to share the page with them or share the video. It does help the channel grow and helps me keep making these fun videos for you guys. Now with all that out of the way, let's get into the regret side. And with that, we're gonna have to start with the obvious question, why? Why are people leaving the state of California? All right, so reason number one why folks are leaving California, and I think this is going to be the most obvious, is going to be the cost of living. It is no secret that housing in California is probably the most expensive in the nation. If it's not us, it's probably New York. So with that said, it's expensive. There's no way around. The same budget that gets you a 2,000 square foot house here, or maybe even a starter home, 2,000 is actually pretty big, might afford you a nice size home with a lot of acreage and property, or like a little ranch in other states. So with that said, families who feel priced out, maybe they're just jumping into the market from renting, or younger people just getting started, moving out of state is going to seem like not the easiest, but the most obvious option. And from experience, a lot of people I see in this situation are going to be renters that have been in the same place for a long time. They had a good relationship with their landlord, favorable rent, it was cheaper than purchasing or going and renting somewhere else, so they never really had to jump into the market. Life happens. The landlord decides to sell, landlord comes up on hard times, decides they need to raise the rate to market standards, which they can only increase incrementally over time. But still, a rental you've been in for the last 10, 15 years, that's $1,500. It's not going to be anywhere near the same as what you're going to get now on the market. And it's stressful. It doesn't feel fair, but it is very, very, very common, unfortunately. With that said, a lot of folks are going out to Phoenix, Dallas, Austin, Vegas is a big one I see, and Idaho's the other one right behind them. For about the same size and price house in Phoenix, it's going to be about $465 on average. Dallas, your average is going to be about $360 to $410, depending on which website and data you use. Idaho, $490. You could get right in the suburbs, brand new build homes. And out in Vegas, $430. Those prices start to look very appealing. Like say you're in Orange County, you're looking at Anaheim. It's kind of one of the lower prices areas of Orange County, and your average price is going to be about $900,000. Now if you're coming inland to where I'm at, Riverside's kind of the starting point for a lot of people. You're going to be about $615 for your average home. Now if you're coming from San Diego and you want to stay close to like Temecula, Marietta, you're at least $760,000. So like I said, you could go to another state, get about the same size home within a pretty popular metro area, starting around $400,000. For a lot of folks, it's gonna be a no-brainer. And to piggyback off cost of living, gas in California it's a lot more expensive than other areas. The average in California right now is about $465 as of the recording of this. We're October 2025. Now, if you go to Arizona, the average is going to drop to about $360. Texas, way cheaper, $2.50 a gallon right now on average. And then Nevada, you're going to be a little bit cheaper, you're about $3.80. So with that said, your dollar is going to go a lot further in these other states. For folks that are barely making ends meet, or just really getting started out in life, it makes a lot of sense. All right, now question for you, the viewer. If you could move anywhere and cut your mortgage in half, where would you go? What state would you go to? Drop it in the comments, the city, the state, what have you. because I really am curious about what states people are looking at lately. All right, and reason number 2, I mean, everybody in the news talks about the taxes in California are a lot higher. I mean, we just discussed the gas prices. A lot of that is going to be taxes. And those taxes do keep, I hate to say it, but they keep going up. Then you've also got sales tax. We have some of the highest income tax in the area. And then you got to factor in sales taxes. Then we also have some of the highest income taxes in the nation. And then, whatever fees are included with that too, it all adds up at the end of the day. So now you got higher housing, higher taxes, higher gas, makes higher cost of living. So when folks get tempted with a no income state like Texas or Florida, I believe Nevada's one also, it feels like you're giving yourself a raise in life. And then for reference, I said Nevada, Texas, Florida don't have state income tax. Californians can be as high as about 12.2%. And then Nevada, from what I could find, is about 2.5%. So 10% difference could obviously go a very, very long way. And then reason number 3, I'm trying to keep these as short as possible, is going to be change of pace. I know a lot of folks don't like the California lifestyle, or they kind of grow out of it and want to see what else is out there. We're seen as kind of more of a hustle, go, go, go type society in the state of California. That's not for everybody. Some people enjoy a slower pace of life, less traffic, and obviously more open space. Maybe it's just, retiring on something with acreage, or just trying something new when you're younger. Listen, I get it. Those are all very real, very valid concerns. I've had them myself. Me and my wife, we've looked at leaving the state several times. And this is going to bring us into the main topic of this video. Leaving California, especially when you've grown up here, you're a couple generations in, it comes with a lot of trade-offs that are important to consider. And that's where the regret starts to kick in. All right, and that's going to take us into the main body of this video, the 7 reasons that I find or I hear people regret leaving the state. And I do want to say I made a video similar to this a few years back, and it was one of my better performing ones, especially at the time. I thought it was important to come through and refresh it or redo it, because personally I hear a lot of people kind of bash our state, and whatever, it is what it is. It's California. There's a lot of pros, there's a lot of cons. And instead of doing a full pros cons of living in the state, that's obvious, I'd rather go into something a little more real, with conversations with clients and potential clients that I've actually had, as well as friends and family members. Okay, and that's going to bring us into regret number 1. This is the biggest one, and I think it might be the most obvious. It's going to be missing family. So like I said, this is the biggest one that I hear, the biggest one I encounter, and the biggest reason I see people actually come back. It's easy to think about having the extra money or the square footage or the bigger property with all the bells and whistles that you really wouldn't get here for that price point. Especially when you're shopping here and you see what that, $500,000, $400,000 pre-approval or cash offer is going to get you out here. Naturally, you're going to start looking at like Tennessee, Nebraska, Texas, whatever, and start dreaming a little bit. Maybe you had family there when you were younger. Maybe it's a place that you went back and it just really clicked with you and you wanted to try it. Which, yeah, by all means, go for it. Like, life's short. But what's really harder to foresee, and this is a lot of conversations I've had with folks, is the cost of missing out on family time or missing out on loved ones growing up, the grandkids growing up, nieces, nephews, what have you, and your kids not being around them. I've seen it time and time again. Folks counting down retirement, the day that happens, they have a sign in the yard, they're shopping around other areas, and they're ready to go, and they're gone. It feels like they won the lottery. They got their dream property and their dream state. Big house, low mortgage, different pace of life. Depending on the state, people are a lot more polite. And I said depending on the state. I've been in a lot of states where it's not as friendly or as welcoming, and that's without me saying, hey, I'm a Californian. But they're in a new place, everything feels exciting, it feels new, it feels refreshing. But a few holiday seasons go by, a few years go by, and suddenly they're only seeing their kids, their grandkids, nieces, nephews on holidays. The birthdays, the Sunday dinners, the casual visits, that's all gone now, and you're really experiencing those relationships more through social media or like FaceTime. And not trying to bash anyone who's done that or gone through it or try and guilt trip anybody. I know this is coming off as like kind of sad. That's not what I'm going for here. It's just more, these are things I hear, these are things I come across, so I feel like they should be said. So let me know in the comments, would you trade a cheaper home for moving away from family? Or is being close to loved ones a non-negotiable for you? Like I said, I've looked at this several times and I already figured out what mine is. All right, regret number 2, and this is kind of a one I've noticed when I travel, but I was surprised to see it come up as often as I've heard it, or surprised to hear it as much as I've heard it, or read it, whatever, or seen it around, or seen it on threads, etc. It's going to be the variety of landscapes. So one thing I've noticed is people really underestimate how unique California's geography actually is. You can wake up literally in the Inland Empire where I live, drive about an hour west, go surf in the ocean, or just spend the morning or lunch at the beach, back up, head about an hour, hour and a half east, and end up in the mountains. We've got deserts, lakes, forests, all within a few hours of each other. So with that said, when a lot of people move, they end up with one type of scenery. Texas is known for being pretty flat. Arizona is known for being desert, even though you do have Sedona and some pretty cool areas there. Nevada, mostly desert. You know, if you go back east or you go up north, you have a lot more of the seasons, which is cool. But like I said, those states, they have their beauty, but not as much variety. You know, California's huge. We're right on the coast. There's a lot of desert. There's a lot of different ways and things to explore about the state itself. And it's not until you leave that you realize how special it is to have all 4 seasons and different landscapes within about an hour drive of home. So for people who love those outdoorsy type things like the hiking, the skiing, the surfing, the water sports, or even just taking those weekend-long road trips, losing that variety can feel like losing a big part of your lifestyle. And so like I've said, I've been to a lot of other states and I know there's a lot of variety and things to offer. I've just noticed in California you can literally have your hand in a little bit of everything. So I'm just curious, if you had to pick one of California's landscapes, what would be your favorite? The beach, mountains, desert? Leave it below. All right, so now moving on, we're on regret number 3. And that's gonna be the California stigma. So this one actually surprises people. They think I'll just move here, blend right in. They have a lot of my values, morals, outlook on life. But in a lot of states, especially those states with a lot of Californians, a lot of that big California influx, local attitudes can be a lot less than welcoming. This is something I hear and I was really surprised about. In doing a lot of research for those videos, I follow a few other YouTubers that do exactly what I do in other states. A lot of the comments go something along the lines of leave your California crap out of our state. So, and I get it, a lot of people blame Californians for driving up housing prices or cost of living in other areas where it was always seen as low, or even shifting the politics of their state. This can create a weird outsider label that follows you, makes you feel a little self-conscious, and makes that new place not feel so much like home as you were hoping. Now with that said, having that reinvigorating, fresh start feeling turns into feelings of isolation. And one quote I saw was they felt like they traded that California hustle for a different negative kind of tension. So now I will defend it a little bit. Most people I help move, I don't hear these types of things from them. I just hear it every now and then, and it's alarming. To me, it's alarming. You know, because you're moving your whole family or yourself to another state. Now you move somewhere where you just feel like you don't belong, and that's not fair. Okay, so now I'm curious, you the viewer, do you agree with that or do you disagree? Have you ever felt that way? Have you ever traveled somewhere when they found out you were from California, you felt like you were being treated differently? Let me know below. I'd like to try and keep this as positive as possible, so reading stuff like this, it kind of hurts me a little bit. All right, so now we're gonna go right into number 4. It's gonna be missing diversity. I think it's pretty common knowledge that California is kind of a cultural melting pot. You've got food, music, festivals, different languages being spoken anywhere you go. It's all around us. You could have authentic tacos one night, Thai food the next, and then Ethiopian, and you're not even out of the mall yet. Actually, if you go to the Moreno Valley Mall, there's actually a Nigerian food place in there that just opened up. It's pretty good. So that's just talking about the food. You've also got the different people, the different conversations, and the different cultures kind of all kind of woven together in every neighborhood, every city. So when people move to less diverse areas and that loss really starts to set in, your community is going to feel a lot less connected, a lot less like global, so to speak. So for parents, I think this is kind of a big one, because in California you grow up with different people with different backgrounds. It gives you it can give you a very unique perspective of the American way of life. You know, your kids here can grow up with classmates, friends, neighbors from a variety of different backgrounds. So take that way, you could lose a lot of richness, so to speak. So I do want to know though, if you've left California, what is the one food that you find it hardest to replace in other states? For me, it is Mexican food. Southern California obviously has the best. I've tried it in several other states, not even close. You would think Arizona and Texas would be close. No. Leave it below. What's the biggest one that you miss personally? All right, and regret number 5, I think this might be the most obvious. It's gonna be the weather. Say what you want about California, but nobody leaves because of the weather. Not that I've heard anyways. In fact, weather would be one of our biggest magnets to bringing folks from out of state here. We have favorable weather all year round. Here in most areas, you could plan an outdoor picnic in January. You're not worried about a snowstorm unless you live up in Big Bear or Arrowhead, which really ties back into the geography thing we talked about a couple bulletin points ago. You can go for a hike in December in a t-shirt and shorts. I've done it. You're not worried about getting caught in a blizzard and needing 5 layers when you're out on a hike. Other states, and this is one I hear that people hate the most, it's shoveling snow to get to your car, dealing with tornado warnings, or sweating through on 100% humidity days. I was just in Florida this summer. I can 100% attest to that humidity is something else. Now with that said, I know a lot of people are thinking they get tornadoes, you guys get earthquakes. I've lived out here my whole life. I haven't been involved in an earthquake where I thought oh, this is the worst thing ever. You know, the ground shakes for a few minutes and it's done. Now back on track, something I do hear from a lot of folks is they're excited for the weather, the different weather, or the different seasons, which that's awesome. I think it's super cool. But when they're getting those crazy electric bills in Arizona from running their AC, or worse yet, their AC breaks in Arizona in the middle of August, I don't think you can convince me that anything's worse. Also, on the flip side of that, scraping ice off your windshield at 6 a.m. if you're moving to, you know, say Washington or Idaho, it's a whole standard of living that we're just not accustomed to. So it's easy to see why they'd start dreaming about those January mornings where there's a little bit of dew on their car instead of 6 inches of ice, or however that works. So now below, be honest, if you've left or if this is something you're thinking about doing, would you rather deal with California's traffic or shoveling snow every winter? All right, so reason number 6, and this is when I have family members, they've actually moved out of state, and this was a shocking one to me. I never even considered it, is your California politics are gonna follow you. A lot of people leave California for the politics, and this is true. They're thinking, I'm done with the California politics, whatever, I'm not getting into that. That's not what I do. And sure, you're gonna get a break from some of the laws, the regulations, the fees on fees on fees on fees. Cities like Portland, Boise, Austin, Phoenix, I think it's safe to say they're full. They have a lot of people who left California, went to those specific areas to get away from our stuff. But what happens is they bring those same debates with them, and suddenly your new community feels a lot like your old one. It's a hard truth, but moving doesn't erase politics. If it's a hot button issue here, chances are very high that's going to be a hot button issue somewhere else. And for reference, I was staying in Austin a while back. This is a few years ago. Half the neighborhood was from either Orange County or the Inland Empire. And I've got family in Arizona. They're very right-leaning. They moved to Arizona. They're not nearly as right-leaning as they thought they were. So politics is a dicey situation. I'm not here to debate that, but this is something I hear, and it's annoying here. It's going to be annoying somewhere else too. All right, so regret number 7, and this is going to be a weird one. I think this one might be, the last one was controversial, I think. This one's going to be a little odd. It's going to be missing California's rules and regulations. So kind of as I mentioned already or alluded to, this one shocks people. In California, we love to complain about the regulations. We love to complain about how high the taxes are. We love to complain about some of the policies. Smog checks, gas prices, building codes, environmental laws, property taxes. But once you leave, you start to see some of the hidden benefits of it. So for example, stricter building codes, building laws, it means your structure, your home, whatever you're building is going to be more apt to dealing with earthquakes, fire, and hold up, you're getting a better product. Environmental laws are going to help with cleaner air, cleaner water. We're pretty densely populated here in Southern California, hence the traffic. And healthcare access and worker protections are going to be a lot stronger and more accessible here than, say, other states. Which, good and bad with that, right? And so to really piggyback on that healthcare comment I just made, I've had a lot of folks that have, you know, kids that are on certain assistance programs and have special requirements. They get fed up with California's prices, laws, what have you, and they grab any out of the several that we've just covered. They really do require that kind of assistance, or they become very reliant on that assistance. They can't find the same type of help or same standard of care in other areas. So, and that's not bashing other states. This is just some of the research I've done and I've tried to help folks with. But yeah, when you move somewhere else with looser regulations, yeah, it feels a lot more freeing, and yeah, you can just kind of go about your own business. And it might be cheaper and easier in some ways, which I totally get. Save a buck, man. But you also might start to notice more pollution, weaker infrastructure as far as city, government, schools, etc., or less protections when things go wrong, mainly like the workforce or health issues. So the best way I've heard it put was, you really don't know what you have until it's gone. So with a lot of those rules and regulations, it's important to note that they weren't created in a vacuum. They're there for a reason. They're there to help something. They're there because at one point there was an issue or there was a problem that had to be addressed. So now with that said, another question for you, the viewer. Have you ever been somewhere and thought, man, California's got this figured out better than where I'm at now? Let me know below. I've heard every reason under the sun why some other state is better as far as traffic, government, etc. I want to know what you guys have seen and experienced where California is actually doing it better. Okay, so now to recap the reasons people are regretting leaving California. We're at the end here, so I'm just going to recap it. Missing family, losing variety of landscape, scenery, etc. The stigma of being labeled California, or people knowing you're from California and holding that against you. missing some of that cultural and societal diversity. What is it? Variety's the spice of life. Harsher weather elsewhere, which, yeah, that's a no-brainer. Your California politics following you, whether you want your California politics to follow you or whether you agree or disagree with your California politics. And also the realization that a lot of California's rules, regulations, policies, etc. have a meaning and a purpose behind them. So on the flip side, the reason people are leaving that we kind of covered in the beginning, cost of living, high taxes, and just really looking for a change of pace, change of lifestyle. And those are all completely valid and real reasons. So now at the end of the day, leaving California isn't all that bad, but staying isn't always all that good. It is absolutely a trade-off. My advice, and I've been doing this a while, is to think long-term, long, hard, go visit where you want to move, interview some of the people if you have friends, family there, really get into their heads, talk to them about what they like about it, what they don't, what they love, what they feel like they're lacking, what they feel like they were lacking here that is provided elsewhere. So also think long and hard about that move. What do you value as far as family, about finances, about freedom, so to speak? And also, what do you really roll into that standard of living kind of expression? Those answers will guide you to your ultimate goal. Now, this was a hard video to make because I don't like talking about negativity or any of that. So just leave in the comments what you like about where you live now, whether it's California, whether it's Idaho, whether it's Honolulu, which is hard to disagree with, Canada, Hong Kong, whatever. I've had viewers or calls from all over the world. I just want to know what you really love about where you're at. So again, my name was Justin King. If you made it this far, if you made it to the end, thank you so much for watching. If there's any clarification, on anything I said or you'd love to discuss, shoot me a call, text, what have you. If you're looking at making a move out here, information is below. Also, I have a Calendly link in my bio. Go ahead and click on that. Like I said, my goal with these videos is to show you what it's like to live out here in the IE, and I like to cover as many angles as humanly possible. Now, I do post videos weekly, which I went over in the beginning, so don't forget to hit the subscribe and notification bell so that way you're alerted when I send out my new stuff. Also, if you know anybody that could get some value from this, please share it with them. It helps the channel grow. And with that said, thank you again for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.